Hi everyone, this is Joy with Create It with Joy, and today I've made a card using the Simon Hurley's new release Flower Garden Background Cling Stamp. This has a lot of bold print, big flowers, which I really loved, and I put this on Simon Says Stamp Peacock cardstock with a gold embossing powder. So instead of putting this into my Misty, I just flipped this big stamp over and I inked it up really well with Simon Says Stamp clear ink. And then I'm going to prep my cardstock with an anti-static tool so that way you don't get little pieces of embossing powder sitting all over your card. And then I'm going to flip that over and lay that on top of my stamp. And then if you just put another piece of scratch paper on top of that, you can rub the whole back without getting ink all over your hands. And that came out with a really fantastic impression. So this is Simon Says Stamp Ultra Fine Antique Gold Embossing Powder. And make sure your heat gun is nice and warmed up before you take it to your paper because you will have less warping. And I am using Tim Holtz Glass Matte, which I think is really great for your embossing. You can just leave it flat on there and it doesn't ruin the glass mat, so it makes it really easy to emboss your paper. There, you can really get an idea of that bold, beautiful print. So now I am using W+9 Sunshine Layers, and I am going to be cutting out a frame out of white cardstock, and it comes with two pieces for it to be a frame. So you have that little inside rectangular piece, and I'm going to run that through my die cut machine, and we'll pull it out, and it'll have a scalloped edge frame that we're going to attach to the front of this card. And then these are from Spellbinders Bloom 3. There's 2 flowers, and then there's also these little centers that I didn't record die cutting. But I am just taking the tips of those and sticking it in my clear ink and adding some gold embossing powder to those because I wanted just a little bit of gold on the tips. So I'm going to do that with all 3. They're all the same size. There's only one die cut center. And I thought it would just be easier if I used the end of a paintbrush instead of my fingers to dip it into the ink. And then I just use my tool-in-one to pull it out of the embossing powder. And then I am also going to heat those up with my heat gun, excuse me. So now we've got these flowers, which I also cut out of the Simon Says Stamp Peacock cardstock. And I'm going to be adhering the centers to the background flower. And I am just using Ranger's Multi-Medium Matte glue for that. And I'm going to put those aside. And then I added some foam tape to the back of the frame, and I'm going to adhere that. I did want that to have a little bit of dimension, and then we will also add a little bit more dimension with some of these flowers. And I was having the heck of a time getting it centered. It kept sticking when I didn't want it to. And had I thought about it first, I would have stamped my sentiment. And it comes, it's Love Messages from Simon Says Stamp. And it says, "Thank you for being who I needed most." And I stamped that with the Simon Says Stamp clear ink and embossed it with white embossing powder. And if you want to know a behind the scenes, every time I removed that from the camera, I was dumping embossing powder on my floor. So I heat set that, which is really great that you can have one color of embossing powder over another. So a little bit of foam tape, a little bit of liquid glue to these flowers, and get those all stuck around. And the last little flower I am doing all foam adhesive so it will have even more dimension. And this is from Gina K. This is Friend Die, and I just cut that out of white cardstock also and lined that up right above that stamped sentiment. And then I'm using Nuvo glitter drops in White Blizzard for the centers of the flowers and Nuvo Crystal drops in Simply White for just a little bit of embellishment around all the sentiment. You don't need a ton of embellishment on this card because the background speaks for itself. It's so full of these beautiful flowers and leaves. So you've got this really great background. And I love the contrast between the gold and the peacock cardstock. It really is quite beautiful. Thank you guys so much for watching my video, and if you like what you've seen, please thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I love all of your comments. I appreciate them so very much. You guys bless me every single day, and I will be back here real soon with another video, so stay tuned.